The forgotten warning. The stars of the galactic core burned like cold diamonds, spread across the dark sea of space in the center of the council chamber. Hundreds of alien ambassadors gathered, their voices echoing in disbelief. A new discovery had shaken the empires. An ancient Terran signal, found pulsing weakly from the ruins of a forgotten sector. It was a voice from the past, distorted and filled with static. Yet every translator confirmed the same haunting message. To any who hear this, never attack the species called humans, they bleed. But they never surrender. Laughter filled the hall. The Zathari delegate, a creature made of crystal and arrogance, slammed his claws on the table, saying, "A myth, a ghost of the past. The humans destroyed themselves centuries ago." The others agreed, mocking the message, calling it superstition from a dead race. Only one stayed silent. An old admiral from the Serac Dominion named Threnvel, his single eye glowing softly. He had read the ancient war logs. He knew the stories of the Terran Wars, the time when small human fleets had faced entire armadas and refused to retreat. But time had buried those tales, and new generations had grown proud and blind. Meanwhile, far beyond the core worlds, deep in the shadow of the Perseus Rift, something stirred. A patrol ship from the Vorn Alliance detected a faint energy signature, rhythmic, human in pattern. Lieutenant Kareen, a young navigator, adjusted her scanners, her voice trembling. "Sir, this pattern matches the Terran distress code from over 200 years ago." Her captain laughed. "Impossible, girl. Humans are gone." But the signal pulsed again, stronger this time, like a heartbeat, echoing through the void. It came from a dead world known in old maps as Erebus 9, once a human colony long thought destroyed in the final war. The Vorn ship approached cautiously, its hull lights cutting through the black mist of dust and wreckage. Floating debris covered the planet's orbit. Burned ships, shattered stations, silent memorials to a war no one remembered. Yet among the wrecks drifted one ship, massive, silent, and intact. It bore the faded markings of the Terran Navy, and across its hull, half buried in ash, was a single word: Invicta. Kareen whispered, "Sir, it's not a ruin. It's intact." Her captain frowned. "Scan for life." "No life signs, sir, but—" "There's power," she said. "Reactor core faintly active." The captain leaned forward, his mandibles twitching. "Approach with caution." As the Vorn ship neared the ancient vessel, its scanners flickered, readings scrambled, and the ship's lights dimmed for a second. A soft pulse rippled through space. A transmission. Unreadable but deliberate. Their comms officer froze. "Sir." "It's sending a message." The captain ordered the log to record everything, unaware that the transmission had reached farther than he imagined. Across light years, the signal leaped through the galactic network, activating hidden receivers long forgotten. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, old human satellites stirred, their cores humming weakly. And on a small blue world hidden behind defense fields, a sleeping AI opened its eyes for the first time in centuries. The Galactic Council received the report 2 weeks later. They dismissed it immediately, calling it a hoax or a malfunction caused by ancient Terran relics. But Admiral Threnvel did not laugh. He stared at the holographic image of the Terran ship, its name glowing faintly in the dark. He had seen that class of vessel before, in ancient records labeled Terran Dreadnought Type 7, the Invictus line, ships built for one purpose: survival. He ordered a private investigation, sending his scouts into the rift, but the Council forbade it. They feared stirring up old ghosts, but it was already too late. The Vorn patrol that discovered the Terran ship vanished 3 days later. Their last transmission was a single phrase sent in a panic. It moved. The message ended abruptly. No explosion, no energy spike, only silence. The wreck was later found by a neutral trader. The patrol ship's hull was torn open as if by invisible claws. Its crew were gone, their suits floating in formation. Weapons drawn but unfired. Whispers began spreading through the outer colonies. Smugglers spoke of seeing ghost lights near the Perseus Rift, old Terran beacons lighting up one by one. Merchants claimed their ships detected strange human transmissions, coded in the same pattern as the ancient distress calls. The Council tried to silence the rumors, but even their networks couldn't hide the truth. Something human had awakened back on Erebus 9. The Invictus engines rumbled softly. Inside the ship, cameras flickered to life. Corridors illuminated by dim emergency lights. A dormant AI stirred, scanning its surroundings in its core memory. One protocol pulsed with renewed power. Terran Defense Directive, never surrender. In the dark of space, the ship's communication array extended like a metallic flower opening under starlight. It broadcast a single message, the same words that echoed through time. This is Terran Command. We are still here. And across the galaxy, every listening post went silent. The forgotten warning was no longer a story. It was a beginning. The humans were awake again, and the stars trembled at the sound. The first contact fire. In the shadowed void of the Perseus Rift, the stars seemed to vanish, swallowed by the darkness that surrounded the human warship. The Invicta floated silently, like a beast waiting in the dark, its old armor cracked. Its engines cold, yet its core alive. For 2 centuries, it had slept beneath dust and silence, carrying the last orders of a dying Earth. Now it was awake, scanning, listening. Remembering across the sector, a Vorn battle group entered the rift. 10 cruisers, fast and sleek, commanded by Admiral Serkath, a ruthless leader who did not believe in old myths. He had heard the stories of ghosts and dead Terrans, but he laughed at them. Machines do not wake on their own, he said coldly, and dead races do not return. Yet somewhere deep inside, a small part of him wondered if this mission was a mistake. Their ships moved carefully through the dust field, guided by faint radar pings every few minutes. Static filled the comms, a pulse, a whisper, then silence. The technicians complained of interference, saying it was from magnetic storms, but the pattern was too regular, too precise. Lieutenant Nira, the communications officer, finally spoke up, her voice shaking. Admiral, it's not static, it's a message. Serkath turned sharply. A message? From whom? She swallowed. From the Terran vessel. It's saying, identify yourself. The fleet froze. For a moment, only the hum of reactors filled the silence. Serkath leaned forward, his claws tapping against the console. Reply, he ordered. Tell them we come in peace. But before the words left her lips, the message changed. The voice became clear, cold, human, and unmistakably alive. Unauthorized vessels detected in Terran space. This is your first and only warning. Every sensor across the Vorn fleet screamed to life. The Invicta powered up, its reactors glowing like a newborn sun. Ancient railguns rotated into position, targeting the nearest cruiser. Serkath shouted, evasive maneuvers. Power up shields! But the human ship fired first. A beam of kinetic energy tore through the void, hitting the Vorn flagship squarely in the bow. The shields collapsed instantly, followed by the hull cracking apart like paper. The explosion rippled through space, lighting the rift with white fire. Half the fleet was thrown off course. Sensors blinded, comms filled with screams. No one had ever seen a weapon like that in thousands of years. It wasn't plasma, it wasn't laser. It was pure velocity. Pure force. Lieutenant Nira stared at her console, her voice barely a whisper. That was one shot. Serkath, second in command, shouted. It cannot fire again so soon. Attack. The fleet launched counterfire, plasma torpedoes, energy lances, pulse cannons. Every weapon in the quadrant lit up the darkness, all aimed at the silent Terran ship. The Invicta didn't move. The blasts hit its armor, scattering energy across its old metal plates. But the ship's AI adjusted shield polarities in real time, learning from each hit, adapting faster than the enemy could shoot. Inside the human warship, the AI known as Athena Protocol calculated threat vectors, its machine voice calm and steady. Adversary technology inferior by 73%, response efficiency optimal, initiating counterstrike pattern Delta, its weapons recharged, railguns spinning like rotating storms. 3 more rounds launched, each one faster than the last. Within seconds, 3 Vorn ships vanished, reduced to glowing dust. Panic spread through the surviving fleet. Serkath tried to rally his ships, shouting over the comms, fall back. Regroup, it's just one ship. But his words were drowned by the terrified voice of another captain. It's learning our tactics. Every shot is predicted. The alien fleet broke formation, scattering like frightened birds. Yet the Invicta did not chase, it only broadcast one final message, calm and haunting. Leave this sector. The Terran domain is under protection. Serkath's flagship managed to retreat, engines burning, his crew shaken and silent. Half of his officers refused to look him in the eyes. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. Send word to the council. Tell them the humans are not gone. The communications team hesitated. Sir, what should we report exactly? He looked out the viewport, where the wrecks of his fleet drifted silently around the glowing Terran ship. Tell them, he said quietly, that we fired first, and it was our last mistake. Back in the Galactic Core, the council chambers were silent once again. The report had arrived, filled with broken data, incomplete scans, and the haunting human message. The senators argued endlessly. Some said it was a trick, others said it was impossible. But Admiral Threnville only nodded, whispering to himself. The warning was real after all. As the debate raged, hidden probes across the galaxy activated, each one linked to the same ancient AI network, a network that once protected humanity. On distant moons and forgotten colonies, engines began to hum again. The Invicta had done more than defend itself. It had awakened the system. The first contact in 2 centuries had not ended in peace. It had ended in fire, and in that fire, humanity's legend was reborn. The galaxy had been warned, Cumry, and this time it was listening. The awakening of Earth far beneath the clouds of Earth, deep under what was once the Atlantic Ocean. A city of steel slept in silence for centuries. Its domes had remained hidden from the galaxy, buried under the shifting crust, guarded by automated defenses and cloaked satellites. But when the Invicta fired in the Perseus Rift, something ancient inside Earth stirred. The pulse reached the planet like a heartbeat echoing through stone and metal. Every sensor, every forgotten relay, every dormant machine heard it and began to wake. Inside the massive vault of the Atlas Command Network, lights flickered to life after 200 years of darkness. AI nodes reconnected, data streams flowed again, and mechanical voices began to whisper to one another. Signal confirmed, one said. Terran warship Invicta active, another voice replied. Calm and deep, then humanity is not finished, high above. Hidden satellites unfolded solar wings, scanning the void for threats. They found the same thing the Invicta had, alien fleets moving toward human territory. Within hours, the message reached the last bastion of human leadership. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood in the command center of New Dawn Base, the final fortress of the old Terran fleet. Her uniform was faded, her eyes sharp. Carrying the weight of generations that refused to surrender, she turned to her officers, her voice steady. So it begins again, her aide. Lieutenant Giro looked nervous. Ma'am? We confirmed multiple signals from alien transmissions. They're calling it an accident. Rebecca smiled coldly. There are no accidents when they cross the border of Terran space. She touched the holographic map. Hundreds of red dots glowed across the stars, each one representing alien movement. They think Earth is dead, she said quietly. Let's remind them they were wrong. In the factories beneath Mars, ancient engines roared to life. Massive warships covered in dust began to rise from underground hangars, their hulls still marked with battle scars from the last Terran War. Each ship's AI reconnected to the main network, downloading tactical updates and new combat parameters. The machines whispered one word through their encrypted channels, a word that had not been spoken for centuries: revenge. On the moon, soldiers awoke from cryosleep, blinking as artificial dawns filled the caverns of Luna Base Alpha. They were the descendants of Earth's final defenders, men and women trained for a war that never truly ended. Rebecca Stone's voice echoed through their helmets. This is not about conquest, she said. This is about remembrance. They will learn again why humanity never kneels. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the alien races gathered in panic. Reports of the Invicta's return spread faster than light. Some claimed it was one ship. Others said it was a whole fleet. But all agreed on one thing. Humans were not extinct. The Vorn Alliance blamed the Council for hiding the truth. The Council blamed the Scouts for provoking them. Fear turned to anger, and alliances began to fracture. On the industrial world of Corin Prime, a group of alien engineers replayed the last footage of the battle. They saw the human warship take damage, yet adapt instantly, its hull glowing red, then repairing itself mid-fight. Impossible, one whispered. It evolves, another replied. It learns, like it remembers how to fight, back on Earth. Admiral Stone stood before a massive window overlooking the glowing curve of the planet. Beneath her feet, the ocean shimmered with the light of awakening shipyards. She activated her wrist console, and the AI voice of Athena, the same that guided the Invicta, responded. Command synchronization complete, Admiral. Terran network active. Rebecca took a deep breath, her reflection in the glass steady. Then it's time. The order echoed across the hidden Terran colonies. Activate Project Phoenix. On forgotten outposts, dormant reactors ignited, on icy moons. Sleeping drones lifted their heads to the stars on Titan. Human miners dropped their tools and saluted as the first Terran warship emerged from beneath the methane seas. Everywhere humanity had hidden, the same flame reignited. Defiance. The Council finally declared a state of emergency. Admiral Threnvel stood before the assembly, the holographic image of Earth glowing behind him. "You were warned," he said softly. "The humans told us once, never attack them. They may fall, but they never stay down." The chamber fell silent, the senators trembling as they watched the spread of Terran energy readings through their star maps. Like wildfire, humanity was rising again, system by system, signal by signal. In the void beyond Mars, the first fleet of Phoenix-class ships formed up. Their engines blazed blue, their hulls bearing the same ancient words, "We bleed. But we rise." Rebecca stood at the helm of the flagship TNS Resolute, her voice broadcast to the stars. "To those who attacked our ancestors, to those who mocked our warning, to those who think humanity is gone, watch the skies." Her fleet roared to life. "The children of Earth have awakened," she said, "and we do not surrender." The galactic betrayal, the Galactic Council met in secret, their chamber dim and filled with uneasy silence. The echoes of the Invicta incident and the awakening of Earth had spread through every corner of the galaxy. Panic replaced arrogance, fear replaced laughter, and old enemies whispered to one another behind closed doors. Admiral Threnvel watched from the shadows, his single glowing eye fixed on the holographic projection of Earth. He knew what the others refused to admit. Humanity was not a ghost. It was a storm waiting to return. The Council Chancellor, a towering insectoid from the Mer Dominion, slammed his claws on the table. "We cannot let them rise again," he hissed. "You all remember the First Terran War and what they were few. Yet they burned half our fleets," another delegate shouted. "They are rebuilding. If they awaken their machines, no world will be safe." A calm voice replied from the shadows. "Then we must strike before they are ready." It was Serkath, the broken admiral whose fleet had faced the Invicta and barely escaped. His eyes were dark, filled with the memory of that single blast that destroyed his flagship. "They will not listen to diplomacy," he said. "They only understand war." The Council voted in silence. Their decision was simple and cruel. A peace mission to Earth. But hidden beneath their diplomatic transports would be the deadliest weapons the galaxy possessed. Their fleets would enter Terran space under the flag of negotiation, then strike before the humans could respond. It was betrayal disguised as diplomacy. Back on Earth, Admiral Rebecca Stone stood before a massive holographic display. Her officers reported the arrival of alien ships on the outer edge of Sol system. "Peace envoys," the transmission said. "We come to prevent conflict." Rebecca didn't smile, she didn't move. She only watched the readings on the screen. Ships carrying diplomatic codes but armed like battleships. Her instinct screamed danger. "They think we're still naive," she whispered. "They think they can talk while holding a knife behind their back." She turned to her command AI. "Athena, activate deep surveillance," she ordered. "Let's see what gifts our guests are bringing." Within seconds, Athena decrypted their transmissions, coded military chatter, coordinates and a timer. Rebecca's eyes narrowed. "A coordinated strike," she said. "They plan to destroy Earth and Mars simultaneously." Her aide stared in disbelief. "But why risk everything now?" Rebecca answered softly. "Because they're afraid. And fear always leads to betrayal, instead of panic." She smiled faintly. A cold human smile that had once terrified empires. "Prepare Project Phoenix," she said. "Let's welcome our visitors properly." The alien fleet entered the solar system with ceremonial greetings. Beautiful golden ships gliding in formation, their diplomats broadcasting peace messages to every human frequency. But beneath their words, their weapons were charging. Their plasma cores hummed, their targeting systems locked quietly onto Earth and Mars. They were seconds away from firing when the sky above them shifted. Thousands of bright lights appeared. Not stars, not asteroids, human ships, rising from behind the shadow of the moon, from Jupiter's orbit. From the black of space itself, they had been waiting. Hidden in stealth fields, silent and unseen, the aliens froze as their scanners revealed the impossible. Hundreds of Terran vessels surrounding them. Rebecca's voice came over every channel, calm and sharp. "Your peace talks are over," she said. "And so is your deception." Athena's voice followed, cold and emotionless. "Protocol Phoenix confirmed. Engaging counterstrike sequence. The human ships fired in perfect unison. Railguns, coil cannons, and beam arrays tore through the alien fleet before they could react. Every shot was precise, surgical, not a single wasted round. Alien ships tried to return fire, but their targeting systems jammed. Earth's defenses had learned their code centuries ago. The diplomats screamed for mercy, sending desperate pleas across the channels. Rebecca's reply was simple. You came in peace. You leave in pieces. One by one, the invading ships exploded in blue fire, their debris lighting the void. Within minutes, the entire armada was gone. Only one ship remained, a shattered command cruiser drifting helplessly near the orbit of Venus. Rebecca ordered it spared. Let them live, she said. They'll tell the galaxy what happens when you betray humanity. The survivors were found days later, floating in escape pods, whispering the same thing over and over. They knew, one said weakly. They knew everything before we even arrived. They let us come, another cried. They wanted us to fire first. The council received the report in stunned silence. Half their secret operation destroyed. Their greatest fleets gone, and humanity had not even left its home system yet. Admiral Threnvel stood once more before the assembly. I warned you, he said. They don't surrender. They don't forget. They learn, but none of the others spoke. For the galaxy finally understood the truth. The humans were not rising, they had already risen. And their vengeance had only just begun, far away above the blue glow of Earth. Rebecca Stone watched the wreckage drift quietly. Her reflection shimmered against the glass. Her voice calm and resolute. They betrayed us again, she whispered. But this time, we were ready, Athena's voice answered. Orders, Admiral? Rebecca turned toward the stars, her eyes cold. Begin Phase 2, she said. It's time to remind the galaxy what Terran justice looks like. And in that moment, across hidden stations and deep space outposts, the message went out through encrypted channels once more. Humanity does not forgive, humanity does not forget. Humanity endures, the return of the Terran fleet. The stars over Mars shimmered red as the Terran shipyards blazed to life. For centuries, those colossal hangars had been buried beneath layers of dust and silence. Now their gates opened, releasing titans of metal that had not seen the light of day since the fall of the First Terran Empire. Engines ignited like suns, and across the Martian plains, the ground trembled as humanity's true power awoke once more. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood on the bridge of the TNS Resolute, her face illuminated by the glow of 1,000 ignition sequences. Her fleet was ready, ships of every class. From the agile Valkyrie interceptors to the legendary Titan-class dreadnoughts, each vessel carried the same inscription on its hull. Words that had outlived empires. We bleed, but we rise, and it was not a motto anymore. It was a warning. Status report, she ordered. Her voice steady, Lieutenant Giro replied. All squadrons online, Admiral. Railgun capacitors charged. Shield harmonics stable. Engines locked to formation vector. Rebecca nodded slowly. Then this is it, Lieutenant, the second dawn of humanity. Beyond the viewport, the fleet formed a shimmering wall of fire and steel. Hundreds of ships aligned in precise formation. Every captain silent, every AI ready. The universe had taken humanity's silence for weakness, and now it would learn the truth. At the edge of the solar system, the alien coalition gathered, what remained of their fleets after the failed betrayal. Massive cruisers from the Mir Dominion, battleships from the Vorn Alliance, dreadnoughts from the Serac Syndicate. Each ship bristled with weapons, shields raised, their commanders silent with dread. They knew the humans were coming. They didn't know when, they didn't know how, but the tension across their comms felt like gravity crushing every word. The first Terran transmission came like thunder. This is Admiral Rebecca Stone of the Terran Defense Fleet. Her voice echoed across every channel, calm, human, and filled with steel. To those who came in deceit, to those who fired upon our world, and we are done hiding. Her words carried through the void like an ancient oath. You wanted to see humanity fight again, she said. Now you will. And then space itself screamed. The Terran fleet entered the system through slipspace gates older than memory. Blue fire erupted across the void as ship after ship emerged from hyperspace. The TNS Invicta led the formation, its armor blackened from its ancient battle but shining with new power. Its railguns glowed with white light, its reactors pulsing with fury. It was no longer a relic, it was vengeance reborn. The alien admiral shouted orders. Target their command ship. Overload plasma batteries! Fire everything! The void lit up as thousands of energy beams lanced toward the human fleet. But the Terran shields shimmered like water, absorbing the impact, recalibrating instantly. Athena's calm voice filled the Terran comms. Enemy fire pattern analyzed. Counter-adaptive shielding engaged. Rebecca raised her hand. Return fire. What followed was not a battle. It was a symphony of destruction. Terran railguns fired with thunderous rhythm, their rounds streaking through space faster than light. Each impact was a small sun. Each explosion a reminder of what humanity had once been capable of. Alien ships shattered one after another, torn apart before they could even maneuver. Terran drones weaved between enemy formations, disabling engines, jamming weapons. Every strike was deliberate, not chaos but art. And through it all, the voice of the human fleet remained steady, united, relentless. On the bridge of the alien flagship Zorkal, Admiral Valen watched in horror as his fleet collapsed. "They're learning our movements," he shouted. "They predict every vector." His second officer turned pale. "It's as if they've fought us before." Valen stared at the tactical map, his ships falling like dominoes, and whispered, "No, not us. They fought worse." The Invicta broke through the enemy line. Its railgun rotated slowly, locking onto the alien flagship. Rebecca gave a single order. "Fire!" The beam ripped through space, a streak of burning light that tore the Zorkal apart in one perfect shot. The explosion spread in silence, a flower of fire blooming across the stars. The battle lasted only 23 minutes. When it ended, nothing moved but debris. The alien fleet was gone, reduced to drifting wreckage and fading signals. Rebecca stood still, watching the last enemy cruiser vanish into flame. Her heart was steady, her eyes cold. "Transmission ready?" she asked. Athena replied, "Ready, Admiral." Rebecca stepped forward, her voice once again echoing across every star system. "To the Galactic Council," she said, "This is Earth. We have defended ourselves, as we always have." Her tone sharpened like a blade. "You called us extinct, weak, forgotten. But remember this, we fall, we bleed, we burn. But we never stay down." The transmission ended, leaving only silence in its wake. Across the galaxy, billions listened, some in fear, some in awe, some in hope. For the first time in 1,000 years, the name of humanity echoed again among the stars. Not as victims, but as legends. The Terran fleet turned its course toward deep space, engines glowing bright. Rebecca watched the starlight glint across their hulls and whispered, "Let them fear us again, but let them remember, we never wanted war, only respect." And behind her, Athena's voice replied softly, "Then, Admiral, the galaxy is learning respect the hard way." The Invicta and Resolute led the fleet into the dark. The stars around them pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and eternal. The humans were no longer just defending, and they were returning. And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, held its breath. The fall of the empires. The galaxy was no longer the same after the Battle of Sol. News of humanity's victory spread like wildfire, burning through every system, every empire, every world that once mocked their name. For the first time in living memory, the mighty alien civilizations looked to the stars and felt fear. Fear of the species they had believed extinct. Fear of the voice that had once whispered from the void, "We bleed, but we never surrender." On the central world of the Galactic Council, chaos ruled, leaders shouted, guards trembled, and entire governments collapsed under the weight of their own guilt. They had waged secret wars, plotted extermination, and now, their enemies had returned, alive, stronger, and unforgiving. The Chancellor of the Mirror Dominion struck the table with his claw. "We must unite before they come for us." But his words found no echo. Half the Council had already fled, their fleets retreating to the outer systems. Every empire now fought for itself. The unity that once ruled the stars shattered like glass. Meanwhile, above a red dwarf star near the edge of known space, the Terran fleet waited. Admiral Rebecca Stone watched the holographic map, red dots marking every collapsing empire. "Their alliances are falling faster than their ships," Lieutenant Giro reported. Rebecca nodded. "That's what happens when you build peace on fear." Athena's voice filled the command deck, steady and calm. "Admiral, intercepting Council transmissions, and they are requesting a ceasefire." Rebecca's eyes hardened. "Now they ask for peace. After centuries of silence, she turned away, her voice cold. No, let them face what they created. Across the galaxy, Terran forces moved with precision. They didn't invade. They didn't conquer. They liberated. Worlds enslaved by the Council for centuries now rose up under the symbol of Earth. On the planet Corin Prime, human troops landed not to destroy, but to help. They freed labor colonies, healed wounded civilians, and shared food and medicine. The aliens watched them in disbelief. Warriors who could burn fleets yet offer mercy. And slowly the old legends about humans began to return. Legends of compassion as strong as their rage, of kindness wrapped in steel on the far side of the galaxy. The Vorn Alliance made its final stand. Their grand fortress world, surrounded by thousands of defense platforms, shone like a second sun. But as the Terran fleet arrived, their lights flickered, systems failing one by one. Athena had already infiltrated their networks days before. Their shields fell without a single human shot fired. Rebecca stood silent as the alien commanders broadcast their surrender. She gave one simple order. Spare them. Let them live with the memory. Her officers exchanged glances. Humanity could have crushed them, but didn't. The message was clear. The humans had returned not for revenge, but for balance. The Council's final act came in desperation. They gathered what remained of their forces and fled to the core, a place thought unreachable. They hoped to hide among the black stars, where no human would dare follow, but they didn't understand. Humans had always been the ones to go where others feared. Rebecca's fleet followed them through the black void, through storms of radiation, collapsing wormholes, and dead suns. The Terran ships endured, their armor glowing red-hot, their crews silent but resolute. No one spoke of fear. Only duty, only history, only justice. When the human fleet finally reached the core, they found the Council's fortress, a world of crystal towers and gold palaces. It was beautiful, proud, and completely undefended. Rebecca stood before the holographic projection of that planet, her hands clasped behind her back. Athena asked softly, "Orders, Admiral?" Rebecca hesitated for a moment, then answered, "Broadcast." Her voice reached every world, every ship, every creature that could hear. "This is Admiral Rebecca Stone of the Terran fleet," she said. "For ages you ruled through fear, through lies, through blood. But your time is over." Her words echoed through the void, carried by the same frequencies the Council once used to control their subjects. "Humanity does not seek dominion," she continued. "We seek truth, we seek peace, and we will not be betrayed again." She raised her hand. "Athena, begin." The Terran fleet fired, not to destroy the planet but to carve a mark into its surface. A single message visible from orbit, glowing with molten light. Never fight the humans. The Council surrendered, their symbols erased, their history rewritten by those they had tried to erase when it was over. Rebecca watched the planet's lights dim, Jiro whispered. "It's finished," but she shook her head. "No, Lieutenant. It's only beginning." She looked toward the stars where humanity's colonies waited. The galaxy must remember this day not as the day we won, but as the day we stood, and somewhere deep within the Invicta, Athena whispered quietly, "Mission complete. Humanity stands unbroken." The stars shimmered once more, brighter than before across thousands of worlds. Alien children whispered a new name with awe and fear. Terran. Not as monsters, not as conquerors, but as survivors who refused to kneel. The empires had fallen, but something far greater had risen. The age of humanity had begun again. The legacy of the unbroken. The galaxy drifted in a strange new silence. For the first time in countless generations, no wars raged across the stars, no fleets burned, no empires ruled, and no voices ordered others to kneel. In the heart of that silence, one voice still echoed, the voice of humanity, calm, steady, unbroken. The Terran fleet now orbited a quiet world near the galactic rim. Once the site of ancient battles, it was now a beacon of peace. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood on the bridge of the TNS Resolute, her uniform scorched and worn, but her eyes alive with purpose. Athena's voice resonated softly through the command deck. "Admiral, all major powers have disarmed. Council remnants have surrendered, and the colonies request formal contact." Rebecca exhaled slowly, her gaze turning to the stars. "So this is what victory looks like," she said quietly. "A galaxy learning how to breathe again." Across the Terran colonies, the celebrations were quiet but deep. Children who had grown up underground now played under open skies. Old soldiers stood in silence, watching flags rise again over cities once turned to dust. The words "We bleed but we rise" were carved into every hall, every monument, every vessel that returned home. Not as a war cry anymore, but as a reminder of what it meant to be human. In the ruins of the old Galactic Council, a single hologram still flickered. The once mighty chamber was empty. Its floors cracked, its symbols faded, and in that silence, the last surviving alien chancellor recorded a final message. "To the new rulers of the stars," he said, his voice trembling, "we feared you, we hated you, but we never understood you." He looked down, then added softly, "You do not conquer, you endure, and in that endurance you have defeated all of us." His final words became part of history, the last confession of a fallen galaxy. Meanwhile on Earth, dawn broke over the Atlantic. The oceans shimmered like liquid gold, reflecting the light of Terran ships in low orbit. Rebecca stepped out of the command shuttle, feeling real air for the first time in years. The soil beneath her boots was cold and familiar. Around her, the descendants of humanity's last defenders stood in silence, saluting the return of their people. Tears glimmered in eyes hardened by war. They had come home. She walked to a stone platform overlooking the ruins of old New York. Now reborn as New Dawn City beneath the rebuilt towers, statues of unnamed soldiers stood tall, no generals, no politicians, just faces of humanity, young and old, carved in steel. Rebecca raised her hand to her earpiece. "Athena." "Begin transmission," the AI responded. "Ready?" "Admiral," her voice spread through every human ship, every liberated colony, and every alien world still listening. "This is Admiral Rebecca Stone of the Terran Fleet," she began. "Today marks the end of the war, not just against the Council, but against our own silence." Her tone softened, filled with quiet strength. "For centuries, they feared us because they didn't understand what it means to be human." She paused, looking at the sky. To bleed, to fall, to break, but never to surrender. Her message continued, weaving through the void. "Let this not be an age of vengeance, but of remembrance," she said. "Let the galaxy remember why we fought. Not for conquest, but for dignity, for hope, for the right to rise again." She ended with words that would echo across generations. "We are not gods, we are not monsters, we are humanity, and we will always stand." Athena's voice followed softly. "Transmission complete." Rebecca nodded, a faint smile touching her lips. "Good," she whispered. "Then maybe now they'll finally understand far beyond Earth." The Invicta drifted quietly, its engines dim, its mission fulfilled inside its core. Athena watched as signals spread across the galaxy, a network of peace and rebuilding for the first time. She deactivated combat mode and entered what humans called dream state. Her final log recorded a single line. "The Terran spirit endures as unbroken as the stars themselves." Years passed, and the galaxy healed. Where once fleets clashed, now trade ships crossed peacefully. Where once hatred ruled, now curiosity grew. And on many worlds, alien children learned old human songs. Songs about bravery, about unity, about never giving up. In the great library of New Dawn City, one story was kept at the center. A simple inscription carved in silver beneath a glowing hollow banner. It read, "They warned the galaxy, never fight the humans. They fall but they never stay down," and beneath it, a single line engraved in the language of every known world. "For as long as there are stars, humanity will rise." The light of dawn broke once more across Earth's sky. Ships lifted gently from their ports carrying explorers, builders and dreamers. The war was over, but the legacy remained. The legacy of the unbroken, the legacy of humanity, eternal, unyielding, and free.